Everyone, my Clasia is coming back. You see that? Oh, I don't know when it's gonna go away. It's a bit early today. Right now, I think how saddened I was when I thought about my sister situation. Her situation is always replaying in my head, and can't begin to imagine the trauma in that as a mother, you know. And some people will never be able to grasp the importance and responsibility and the emotional attachment there is when having a child. And then for that to be stricken from them is more than just devastating. It's evil. It's evil. I can understand if you're an unstable parent. But under whose rules declares that? Under whose rules declares that a parent is unstable? This world is just so corrupted. And I know now, like, what I already pray for the less fortunate and you know, people who are in trouble. Like, I pray for them, but I don't think I spend enough time praying on the subliminal corruption in this world. Like, you know, the type, kind of, for example, kind of like when you call the police and that officer ends up being the one you need protection from. Same thing with social services. What if you call them with good intentions, wanting them to check the welfare of a family or check the welfare of a child, and they end up being the one who causes that family so much pain and heartache and grief, all because they're like robots. They're going based on their training instead of based on having humanity, like having dignity for the human race. Like, I don't know, I kind of feel like there's a lot to it, you guys. I'm sure there's a certain approach that social workers need to take in order to investigate certain situations, but man, is it something? Is it something? It hurts me. Like, I'm hurt to think that there's been a lot of stuff happening, you guys, and I can't go into depth on it, but I just want to say that please pray for my sister and just pray on what I was talking about. Like, pray for the enemy to flee. Pray for the enemy to flee and buckle and disappear away from good families. Away from families, period, because the enemy will keep coming after you and coming and trying to get you, and when they see you in pain and suffering, they laugh. Hi, Karina. A lot's happened, Karina, a lot. If you're just tuning in, then I don't know how this works, but look from the beginning of what I was saying. I can't go into details exactly of what has happened, because it would be used probably against my sister. I'm actually investigating my rights as a parent to my children in case it ever came my way. I've read it already a lot. Yesterday I was reading on it, and social services have to comply still with the federal legislations, are constitutional. They also have their own ways of doing things, like ways around our constitutional, but we still have rights, like our 14th Amendment, the right to process, like a due process, a fair due process, or, our Fourth Amendment, where, they can't just invade and take or whatever. They would have. There's a lot that you can read upon, and a lot of the time they have their own rights too, or their own rules and laws in place where they have to, if they feel there's an immediate threat with a family, then they can use their own law within social services to pull the child out from the custody of the parent. And I get that. I understand that. But a lot of the times these social workers are doing it without due process, without our fair way of it being processed, which means if a social worker came into your life and made it hit their way into your home and took the child from your house based on a referral, based on what people said. And people can lie. People can say whatever they want just because they just can. Our right to freedom of speech. But guess what? Social service has to act on it. They do have to act on it. And I've met some great social workers, but I've also met some bitter social workers who come in and do not care that you are a mother or father. They do not care who you are. They don't care that if you're stable. They will just act without any evidence of someone's referral or comment being true. And that's where it's scary. It's scary and it's disgusting, because your child can be with you, the most safest home in the world, and they can take that away. Why? Because they want to pick that day for a power trip, messing with lives like that. And I'm not saying every social worker or family worker is like that. I'm saying they have it in them to do it. Not all of them, but some of them. And if you end up with that one that is like that, it's so scary. And how are you supposed to be equipped to deal with that when the main reason of existing is taken from you by a stranger? I'm surprised I haven't heard any stories about parents wanting to protect their family against those types of social workers who don't do the right process, who don't care about our constitutional rights. And I'm surprised that parents haven't took a stand, or I haven't heard a story about a parent shooting up a social worker trying to restrict their kid from them. I mean, it's scary. And I can understand if a parent is not stable and they're like severely bad on drugs, or no kind of initiative to get their kids back, or no kind of sympathy or nothing. I can understand that. And I do believe, like, maybe, they need some assistance with someone else having their kids, but not permanent. If they're taking some initiative, stay tuned to see where what that leads to. Like, don't completely judge that person or that parent and outcast them and strict their child from them, because the progress that they are making, or whatever moves they are making, even if it's just a little bit, that can be extremely a lot, given that parent's history, past affairs, past events. What if that parent was completely gone? Those drugs don't help your brain cells, okay? So if there is a parent who is who was a great loving parent but had an addiction, and those drugs didn't help them, to have like more of those cognitive skills, and when they realize like they need to like really cut it out because they're losing everything that they love, which is just their children, and they stop. Let's say they stop using. Do you realize that transition that is? Not only does your body go into shock depending on what you're using, but you're, for the first time in a while, stepped away from La La Land and is now facing reality. Reality is cruel, especially when you go into it with the most important thing being taken from you. So you're already compromised. You're compromised because of the effect of the drugs. You're compromised because the emotional distraughtness that you are in. You're compromised because you probably started with nothing because you were in the streets or being an addict or whatever the case may be. You don't have no money. You can't, it's not even practical for you at that point. Because I'm sure you'd have fines. I'm sure you have to, you created a record for yourself. And don't get me wrong. None of that was all your choice. Okay? Yes, it was. However, you still are a human being, and everyone should treat you with that dignity and that concern and that compassion as to what, if I saw a parent who went for nothing and was a straight addict and whatever, and had nothing, but she lost her kids, and then it took her like 6 months to realize, like, what the fudge, I love my kids, I'm gonna do everything, and then they start doing it, but then social services put a time limit on them, regardless of what their physical abilities were to get out of that. Because I'm sure they've had cases where detox is involved for the parent, that they have to take they have to take some counseling sessions and all that stuff to get back to what they knew, or to get back to, or to go towards that person that these social workers are trying to make them be in their image, the social services image. Not even God's image. I don't know. I just feel sympathy for the ones that do try. The ones that aren't trying, I'm sure they're just very sick. But the ones that are trying, like my sister, and regardless what all you people are saying, you don't feel like she's trying hard enough, whatever. You don't know everything. And you don't have the time to find out. You go based on everything that you see, but you don't have all her information. You can't be what she's in. And let alone can you afford to take care of it. But she's trying. She's still trying. But there's a time limit on it. She still stays hopeful, though. My sister is so strong. Anyway. Hey, Anna Banana. You're at work early. Oh, that's loyalty. Anyways, I better get going. My appointment is at 8:30 right here. If you live in San Bernardino County and you're a working parent and you can't afford childcare, try checking out the Childcare Resource Center. I take advantage of it because it really truly helps me. I'm a single parent with 3 daughters and I work, but I do not make enough to afford a childcare or a babysitter, or a daycare or whatnot. And this government beneficial office childcare resource center really truly helps me. It's only for residents in the San Bernardino County. So if you live in Fontana or up the hill or, and it's still considered San Bernardino County, check it out. And it's for working parents, If you've received any kind of assistance within the last 12 months, that includes food stamps or cash aid, then you get bumped on top of the list. But if you haven't received assistance, then there's still a waiting list, but it's worth being on the waiting list. Even if you have a 2-parent household, but only one of you are working, or only one of you but let's say you guys aren't making enough, I would still look into seeing what they could offer, because you never know. Depending on your family size and your income, you may qualify for assistance in childcare help, I gotta go, you guys. I love you. Sandra. Social service people are tough. Yeah, but so are parents, girl. We could do this. And I say so are parents, like so are we, because we were the ones facing that battle long before those social services came in. They came in, not that I'm saying they're in on me, but I'm just saying, like, in general, like, they came in at a time, they come in when they hear about something getting tough. But if they checked out every single family on this planet, they'd come to realize that all of us have been through some kind of violation in their book. And you have those workers who will use that small little violation to separate families. And then you have the great social workers who are like, well, let me refer you to getting some counseling, you and your family, and maybe you guys can work on it together. That's awesome. I mean, it may not always be practical to fit into the busy schedule already, but I mean, at least they're not trying to treat you like some kind of, unworthy parent. I don't know. I gotta go. It's 8:31. You guys are making me late. Love you.